Hey everyone, this is Shadow Kage coming in for another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be ranking the Naruto villains non-filler arcs. That's where we're going to go. Can you guys guess who number one's going to be? Each will be ranked out of 5 categories. Category number 1 will be the importance of the plot, their motivations, their level of villainy, the danger they had at the time, their feasibility. Going back to the plot, that is their plan. That is the feasibility of their plans going to go into that category. Like if someone had a good plan, but there was no way it was going to work in the way of the story, then that's going to mark them real low, and that's not going to be great. Now let's take some time to set some ground rules. One ground rule I have: if the characters are not seen by themselves, if they're only seen in the group, like in the cases of the Sound 4 or the Sound Village Genin, I'm going to have them all in one kind of slot, one group. They're going to get a total grouping together, and they're going to get one consecutive number. But groups like the Akatsuki, I have them separated. A lot of times the duos will be together because they kind of mirror each other sometimes. There'll be some that aren't, but that's kind of how that's going to work out. And a few good villains, just because they share the same identical numbers, will be grouped together, but I'll talk about each individual villain, where I think some of their points are, where they differ. Maybe they both got like 15, but this one got 15 because of this, and this one got 15 because of this. That sort of stuff. Well, I'm kind of hoping maybe some of you guys will be surprised at some of the way I rank some of these. And if you guys don't agree, you guys always tell me in the comments. If you guys agree, you guys can tell me another too. And if you liked the video, could you give it a like, subscribe maybe? That'd be helpful. Okay, let's get this list started. We'll start off at the bottom of the list. That's a 6 out of 25 total points. And that's Mizuki, the first villain you kind of see in the very first episode of Naruto. Like, his plan looked like it was going to work out pretty good. But, because, he almost had Naruto give him the scroll. But his main flaw was the feasibility of actually getting that scroll out, especially with everyone looking for it and knowing that Naruto's the one that took it. That was going to be a big thing because the village is not going to let their Jinchuriki go with the scroll stealing. That could potentially help the Jinchuriki release Kuruma. That's just is like, and really his showings in the fight, losing to pre-Genin Naruto, it's kind of lackluster. He just wasn't dangerous at all, really. He kind of got plot stomped in a lot of ways. Okay, now let's move on to 7 out of 25. This is the Sound Village Genin, Dosu, Zaku, and Kin. Outside the Force of Death, they're really pointless. Like, they don't do much in the rest of the tuning fights. Like, they kind of lose underwhelmingly, or in Dosu's case, he makes a real reckless thing and tries to fight against Gaara. And that was bad for him. And the rest are kind of taken out pretty sadly. They have really no plan. Their only plan was the one they were given by Orochimaru. So we can say that really, so their villainy, outside of maybe, underhandedly attacking Sakura there and, trying to triple Lee, there's not really a lot of villainy. They just kind of did what a normal ninja would do. So really no villainy. They weren't really dangerous to some of the weaker Genin at the time. So can't really put them much harder than that. Okay, now we'll move on to 8 out of 25. This is going to be Kimimaro. Even though even the show treats him like a speed bump, a ridiculously big speed bump, but he was just kind of the slow down Naruto to get to Sasuke so he can, finish the ritual and get to Orochimaru in time. That doesn't end up working out, but also I really feel Kimimaro is just kind of used to show Gaara's turn, his reform after a fight with Naruto. That wasn't that long ago, really. I do really feel like that's kind of where he kind of lies plot-wise, plot relevance. Plan, he didn't really have a plan. It was just to stop anything from stopping Sasuke from getting to Orochimaru. But he was ridiculously dangerous to anyone on that mission. He even gave Gaara a run for his money. That definitely puts him kind of up there, and I would really say, yeah, makes him a halfway decent villain. Up next, we're going to go to Sound 4 at 11 out of 25 possible points. They're quite important to the plot as they are used as a vehicle to get Sasuke to Orochimaru, and to show the growth of some of the Konoha Genin from their some that we haven't really seen fight much, or that seem to get lackluster fights on the tuning exams. Like you get the Choji fight, that is ridiculously. It just shows actually how much of a powerless Choji is. Then you get the fight with Neji. It shows it gives you the first kind of real downside to the Byakugan. But it really does show Neji's tactical mind and why he's considered a genius among the Leaf Genin. That was really cool. Really getting to showcase Kiba in some unique ways. His dynamic marking. Also how far he's willing to go to win a fight. And even getting to the point to showcase Shikamaru's intelligence again. Yeah, it's like they were very dangerous at the time. They killed Jonin. Their motives and their plan, that's kind of where they really lose a lot of marks, just for a simple fact that really it was someone else's plan. And their only motivation was just to get the plan done for their master. So, that's very, really marks. And they're all a bunch of very villainous characters. They don't really care about each other too much, with the exception of Sakon and Ukon. They're the only ones that really care about anybody other than just themselves because they care about them being siblings. They have all some really cool abilities. They're also very villainous. Like, let's get that right. They don't even care about each other. So, coming in at 12 out of 25 is the artistic duo and the immortal duo. These are, I lumped them together. You got Hidan, Kakuzu, Sasori, and Deidara. This is kind of what I was talking about. I was saying I was grouping them up together. Well, let's start with Sasori and Deidara. No real specific reason. Just they're the ones that came to mind first when I was reading the script here. They both wanted to show off their unique versions of art. Sasori wants to make the perfect puppet, the perfect human puppet, and that's going to be his art because art to him lasts forever, as opposed to Deidara and his 5-second art. Sasori, his motivations for wanting to be in the Akatsuki, they're you can find them anywhere. They're deep, they're insightful, but really his plan is just another person's plan. That's kind of going to be a theme with a lot of the Akatsuki. Their plans are really just someone else's plans, so they lose a lot of points with that. Their motivation points are high. Their villainy points are high. Actually, villainy points not even so much. It's they're dangerous because they're all very dangerous criminals. In Sasori, particularly his level of villainy, it stems from him wanting to achieve immortality by making a perfect living puppet. The way he takes people and he turns them into puppets. If you ask me, it's a very villainous kind of thing to do. Deidara is the opposite. Deidara is he lives for the explosion. He lives for the chaos that an explosion creates. He really does think art is an explosion. He says that multiple times. And he dedicates his whole life to this. Even so much to the point where, his ultimate art really ends up being for nothing. Because, his ultimate explosion doesn't even kill the person he's trying to kill. And he really begrudges anybody who belittles his art, thinks it's not great. That's very much kind of where Deidara's thing. And even Sasori, he's also very much to the point where, he'll hold a grudge if you belittle his art. But ultimately, these two, they're very dangerous. Very dangerous. They have specific levels of villainy. They lack a plan. But their plot importance moving the plot along, showing even Sasuke and Sakura's growth up to that point from the last time you saw them in Naruto. Now seeing them in Shippuden, the plot relevance holds on. Even with Sasori leading them closer to Sasuke, following that plot, that was a very big thing that Sasori leads through into the plot too. Now let's talk about Hidan and Kakuzu. One kills for money, the other kills for religion. They both seem to hate the other, but with the inability to kill each other due to their seemingly immortality. But outside their needless slaughter for people, they have real no villainy. Like, killing is pretty awful. But they are very dangerous, just like every other Akatsuki members. They managed to kill a Jonin. They kill Asuma, one of the few Jonin from the Leaf that we actually know how powerful he is. This is where their plot relevance really. Then you really get to see the connection between that Asuma had with his team. This is something they don't show you a lot outside of Team 7, but for plot motivation, it really does. Really like the thing you guys see Shikamaru do something out of character for himself, actually apply himself in a situation for a reason, other than just it being his job, his mission. It really gives you a different respect for Shikamaru, I would say, and you really feel for him. But ultimately, they're taken down. Kakuzu for sure is taken down by Naruto, and he's used really as a vehicle to show the fruit of Naruto's training with the Rasen Shuriken and that sort of stuff. That's kind of how it is. All four of these Akatsuki members were essential for moving Shippuden along and showing the gap between Naruto and Sasuke's power, or showing off Naruto's growth. These are all things that either Sasori and Deidara do, or Dan and Kakuzu do. These are all things they're very good at. Now let's move on to everyone's least favorite rabbit lady, Kage Otsutsuki. She had 13 out of 25. Like her or not, she's a larger portion. Without her, a large portion of Naruto's plot goes stagnant. It's her plan that drives Madara, who pushes Obito, who in turn pushes the Akatsuki. Kage ends up really being the motivational force between most of our favorite villains in the show, outside of a fair few. Also, without Kage, really, we don't have the series as is, because without her, we don't have chakra in the universe. We don't have Hagoromo and Hamura. We don't have Indra and Ashra, and without Indra and Ashra, we don't have the reincarnation cycle that causes a lot of the stuff we see in Naruto. I do believe she suffers the most in her motivation, though. Like, she's got a plan that's got a real possibility working if everything works out perfectly for her, which is, we can talk about that another time too. But, her real motivation, she just wants to get all the chakra back. Like, she just wants all the chakra for herself. Sometimes I wonder if that just stems to her fear of the other Otsutsuki that she knows is going to come at some point. Because, knowing in Bruta how she blindsided Jigen, and she's probably the lower ranked Otsutsuki there and probably was going to get fed to the Tentacles. But alas, she is very dangerous. Like, to everyone except for probably Naruto and Sasuke, but even them, she's probably still dangerous to them too. She had the ability and could have and almost did wipe everything out and then restart it. She's also fairly villainous. She, having absorbed the entirety of the energy from all the enemies to make the White Zetsu in the first place when she was alive thousands of years ago. And also, her dangerous really comes to the point with her ability to destroy the entire universe that the Naruto planet sits in. Okay, now we're going to move on with a score of 14 out of 25. We have Conan and Kisame. With these two, their plot importance isn't there as much as I would like them to be, or I'd like to even think that they are. Really, their importance really comes down to the people that they're surrounded by. With, Conan, it's Nagato. And also when you go flashbacks, Nagato and Hiko, that's where her importance is. She's a driving kind of safeguard, if you will, for the upper echelon of the Akatsuki there. That's kind of where her importance is. And with Kisame, his importance is really there for Itachi when they're together. He kind of becomes a brace for Itachi when he gets sick. He can kind of hold the strength there. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about Conan. She was really there solely to help Nagato, to protect him. I'm not 100% with exactly how villainous she was because we don't really see her do a lot. We don't even really hear her being the one that's taking out any of the Jinchuriki or anything like that. But she definitely has the capability to be very dangerous and very villainous. She's very dangerous just for the fact that she caused Obito to use an Izanagi. That's in itself is wild. Pushing a Sharingan user, having to use Izanagi in any form of way puts you right up there with me, up on the top dangerous people there. And now let's move with Kisame. Kisame, on the other hand, comes from the Blood Mist village, so we know he's villainous because before he even got out of the academy, he had to slaughter his entire class. So we know he's dangerous. Even his weapon he uses, if it's not being wielded by him, it's dangerous. Like, you're gonna get hurt, mess you up, and it absorbs chakra. Like, he's made for danger. He looks like a shark. Dangerous. But, like, motivations, he just wants to see the world be more loyal. He wants more loyalty in the world. Because, his village turned against him and every other Kekka Genkai user in the Blood Mist. Like, he wants loyalty above all. That's kind of what he symbolizes, and that's where his thing with Itachi is in his background there. He's loyal to Itachi more so than almost the rest of the Akatsuki. That I would definitely put him there. That's kind of why he and Conan are together, because I really feel like they're two important characters that embrace kind of the same thing on different sides of the spectrum, and they're not the most villainous people on the planet, the Naruto planet that is. And ultimately, like we talked about with Kaguya, they're following other people's plans. So, okay, well, we're going to move on with a score of 50 out of 25. We have two people I really struggle calling villains. They did bad things, but they're also just shinobi. So, I'm not sure. But here we go with Itachi and Gaara. Gaara, we're gonna say part 1 Gaara. When he's a kid and he's crazy because you can't sleep because Shikaku, and he's really just being ordered to attack the Leaf Village. So, like, he's a villain in the sense of the Konoha Crush arc with Naruto fighting him. So, but right away he turns around and he's helping out. So, dangerous, yes. He just killed Sasuke and Sakura. And, him and Naruto went to a standstill. So, definitely dangerous. Villainous, yes. He was just offering killing people at the time because he's unstable. Importance to the plot, I would say he's got some decent importance to that point. And after that, it kind of goes away for a while there. Okay, now we're going to go and talk about Itachi. Because I have some things to say about Itachi. Itachi, I really struggle with calling a villain just because of all the background I know with him. I know he's really doing all for Sasuke, and if we're calling Sasuke a villain, we might as well call the entire head of the Leaf Village villain, because the Leaf Village made the environment to make Itachi the way he was, to make the plan to go against his clan, save the village, which in turn saves Sasuke. because he knew if he didn't stop the Uchiha, then they would fight, and everyone, even including Sasuke, would die. So he made his choices to save his brother. So can you really say villain? I guess you could have killed but this is where everyone gets kind of that don't pay attention to the light novels or anything. Itachi wasn't the one that killed the women and the children. He just killed the combatants, Uchiha, the ones that were actually trained as shinobi. So once again, he's just really doing what a shinobi's doing. He's carrying out someone else's plan once again. But he threw his little own twists in the plan. So that kind of gets him up there. Dangerous. But can we talk about his plan a little bit? His plan, to make this also Sasuke would kill him. And then hopefully it all works out that, he doesn't want to destroy the village, which ultimately doesn't work out because he wants to. And it takes him being beaten by holding back Naruto before he changes his mind. So, Itachi's plan, convoluted, doesn't work out for the most part. He's got some points that work out. But for the most part, it just really doesn't work. And we can all say, he's very much dangerous. So, okay. Now let's get on to some actual villains. With scores of 16 out of 25, we now have Kabuto and Zabuza and Haku. Let's start with Zabuza and Haku. They are the first major villains, so their importance cannot be understated. They are the ones that give Naruto his ninja way. It's like that is their main importance, and without that, Naruto is not the character he is, not in the same way at least. And that ninja drives him for the rest of the way. So without them, it changes the plot crazily. They're, for the most part, they're pretty villainous. They're taking money and hurting innocent people. That's definitely a very villainous thing. And that's Zabuza for the most part. Haku, really, I struggle also calling him a villain because he was abused as a child. He's taken in by Zabuza, treated well for the first time, probably in a while. And he just owes his life. He feels like he owes his life to Zabuza, so he's just gonna go along with Zabuza, who finally actually has an original plan. Of all the villains we've been talking about so far, he actually has his own plan. But Haku just kind of follows. But I would almost say, they're both very dangerous for the point of the story they're in. But even when they come back in the third Great Ninja War, it's not that Kakashi's not willing to take them seriously, no matter how much he's grown. So, they're still a very viable threat. Okay, now we're going to move on to another character who basically follows someone else's plan to the point where he can't. Then he tries to make himself into the image of the person he was emulating, whose plan he was using. So, he kind of still follows someone's plan even when he's not. Kabuto. We're talking about Kabuto here. Kabuto is basically, in a lot of ways, just an extension of Orochimaru through the entire time you know him. Like, he seems, like when you first meet him, different enough. But then you start finding out actually he's been helping Orochimaru for a long time with his experiments. So, he's right up there with as villainous as you can get because he's experimenting on children and children dying because of said experiments, manipulating all sorts of things. And even when Kabuto gets to be his most powerful, it's still just an extension of Orochimaru. So if you ask me, as cool of a character, I kind of like Kabuto. He's interesting. But really, he's just the biggest fanboy you'll ever meet. And he gets pretty close to doing what he was trying to emulate once he gets his own plan to become Orochimaru. A stronger version of that. He almost does it. But once if the mold's not broke, why fix it? So Now we're going to move on. Tied with 21 out of 25 points, we have Obito. Everyone's confused emo boy turned villain and the most hated man in the series, Danzo Shimura. Let's talk about Obito's motivation to follow through with Madara's plan. With this, I really do believe I do believe it may be the second biggest stretch in the series. Just thinking about it gets me all worked up. But I'll talk more about that later. Obito basically crashes out that the girl he is crushing on dies. Like, can you get any more basic beta boy? Like, Obito, we love you, but she didn't even really like you. Why are you getting all upset? It's like he attacks Konoha because he's a sad emo boy. The girl he liked died. She likes someone else. Come on. He's killing Minato and Kushina. Well, he orphans Naruto. And come on. He was going to kill baby Naruto when he was less than minutes old. It's like he's a freaking villain. He's a terrible person. Like maybe, Obito wasn't such a good guy when he was, before he became a bad guy. He's just always been a bad guy. And maybe that's something we all need to consider. Maybe the emo boys are just the bad boys. And not in a good way. So, but, he goes from, barely awakening a Sharingan to being able to tie with Minato in what, a year, 2 years maybe? Like, not sure exactly the length there, but it's an incredibly short amount of time where he grows incredibly strong. And like, come on, Obito is a weak villain, very dangerous every time you see him, but he's weak on motivation and plan because he gets that from other people, and his motivation is sad boy sauce. Now let's talk about the most hated man, most hated person, most hated fictional person. Yeah, like he might even just be the most hated person on the planet too. This man thinks turning the village against an infant with the power of a nuclear bomb in him is a good idea. You know, he gets ridiculed, bullied, probably abused, neglected. So we got his baby, infant baby. He's got a bomb in him. Like, oh, let's treat him poorly and not train him to be what you want him to be a weapon. Like, stupid. Like, why are we doing this, Donzo? Like, 90% of the time you think you're doing the right thing, but probably the worst thing. Like, there's a 90% chance Naruto becomes a villain because of the way he's treated. They're just lucky Naruto is the way he is. Like, plot armor city, all of Konoha for the way they treated Naruto. Like, that's what you have to do. And do we really need to talk about the Uchiha massacre? He's the one that greenlit the whole thing. It was his idea. I know everyone likes to say Tobirama is the racist against Uchihas. No, that's Donzo. And he actively wanted to get them gone because he thought they could be bad for Konoha. But really, probably would have been stronger. Keep them with the bomb because they can control the bomb. Maybe less problems that could possibly happen. It's just so dumb. Anyways, let's move on to the last three. Okay, so you got Pain, Modern, and Orochimaru. I have them all tied at 24 out of 25 points. Don't pay much attention to the way I'm going to talk about them in which order because, I can't actually say which way I want them. Like, really. But okay. We're going to start with Pain. Once again, we have someone with plot relevance. He kills Jiraiya, pushes Naruto into needing to use Sage Mode, which is him relying on his own strength as opposed to Kuruma's all the time. That's kind of a real big stone smashing thing for Naruto. Someone else is using his own power as opposed to the Foxes. It's awesome. You can really see how strong he is now with this benchmark of Pain. Pain is almost a perfect villain. I want to give him a 25, but I can't because someone else's plan. His motivation, yes, he wants to show everyone pain. So maybe, the pain will make people think less to do war. On the surface, I can't even disagree with that. He's got good motivations, like 5 out of 5 motivation. 5 out of 5 danger, he destroys the whole village. Like, come on. He kills Kakashi, he kills Jiraiya. Do we need to really say how much more dangerous he is? Like, come on. So, he makes Donzo look mid. Without actually how dangerous he is. Okay. Now let's talk about Madara. We spent the whole series hyping this man up, and he doesn't disappoint. He comes out of the gate dangerous to everybody. He bodies the 5 Kage. He beats both Naruto and Sasuke. He runs the war for a while. He makes himself come back to life, and then becomes a Jubi Jinchuriki. Like, he beats everybody. Like, he has the skills to pay the bills. He has all the skills and motivation to get someone else's plan done. And the funny thing is, unlike everybody else who knows they're doing someone else's plan, well, Madara and Pain both don't know they're doing someone else's plan because they think it's their own. But, they're getting played the same way. It's kind of funny. Yeah. So, that's Madara. Like, hype man extraordinaire. Super strong, super dangerous. Decent motivations, I would say. But that plot. But, him using someone else's plan and being the manipulator for the rest of the villains underneath him in this list. I think, again, manipulated by someone who's farther down the list, than him, So, Madara, he's good till he chokes. Okay, let's talk about one of the only villains that never follows someone else's plan. The most villainous person on this list, hands down. Child sacrifice, Orochimaru. The child sacrifice is Snake himself. Orochimaru, for a lot of this series, seems to do whatever he wants for the lulz. He has a goal, a good goal at that, And guess what? He accomplishes it. By the end of the series, he's immortal. He's got a perfect vessel. And he can go the rest of his life learning all the jutsu he wants. And now he has the ability to clone himself perfectly, and they can live their own separate lives. Like, Orochimaru is the biggest winner of the whole series. Can we be honest? It's like, come on. And then, he turns around and becomes a good guy just to see what Sasuke's going to do. Fun. He is literally the reason why, Naruto gets the other half of Kuruma and, actually survives. So let's all be honest that. Without Orochimaru, Naruto would have died in the war when he got all the Bijus extracted. So, yeah, come on. Orochimaru is also the only villain on this list to be pure evil and get away with it. And you'll get lots of freedoms afterwards. Like, kind of crazy. But we all love the snake. So this has been my as objective as I can list. Yeah. If you like the video, hit the like. If you disagree with something, let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye.